Hello, Erika.
Hello.
I'm very glad to be with you to have this little talk about education. You're from...
I'm from Italy, yes.
Yeah, but not only.
Not only Italy. It's a confusing background. So we live in Ireland, but we travel back and forth because my husband is Italian and my 5 children were born in Italy, but I'm American as well. Yeah. So I'd like to learn about all countries.
And you have a long and complex journey with education, or deep one.
Well,
can you explain it?
Yes. Well, I've always been questioning the school system. I have memories of when I was a child.
When you were a child?
Oh, yes. And I remember just thinking to myself, why are they doing it like this? Why is this the place? Is this the best place? And I must have been 6 or 7 years old. And I still have vivid memories of all these questions in my head. I think being so close with the memories of my childhood has helped me in this journey of home education. And so fast forwarding it through the years, in university as well, of how people were learning, or better, maybe not learning at their best. And then as a mom.
So you turn to be a mom, or like when it starts to have this reflection about how you will educate your children, how...
Well, as I said, I started having questions since I was very young, but then it evolved as a university student, it evolved as a teacher, because my first journey into the workforce was as a teacher in state schools. And I just felt that we were wasting our time. I just felt that I was in these classrooms and the children were exhausted. No matter how fun I made the lesson, no matter how much energy I put into it, they were just like, is it time to go? Is it time to get out of here? And I felt frustrated. And so my journey didn't last very long in the school system. I started finding other places where I could teach. And then quite soon I had my first child. And then it was our turn to decide what to do with him, because in Italy, where we were living at the moment, schooling starts at the age of 6.
Okay.
So I remember questioning my husband and I, researching on home education.
So you had some time between 0 to 6 too?
Yeah. Actually, we waited and waited till he was 5, because we were having such a lovely time at home, and we just waited till the last year of preschool to see what to do. And homeschooling was quite unknown in Italy. We're talking about 2011.
Okay.
And so we thought this could be the right choice. We had sent him to a few kindergarten, preschool settings, and I was very unhappy with the treatment of the child, especially. I felt that we were not considered as human beings. I think that his feelings were not taken care of properly. He was a very small child. I mean, he was 5. And the people were just very busy. And there was a system in place that didn't allow, even if they wanted to, the teachers to look carefully into the eyes of their students. And this episode is quite important for us. My son was 5, and he came home from school, and he was frustrated. He was upset. And I said, what happened? And we're talking about like a morning. It was 5 hours, and he was 5.5. That's when we had this little episode of trying out school. Because, I think we have to try out to make the right choice. We have to see different things and how they work. And then we can see what works for us. So he came home and he said to me, Mom, this happened. I don't understand. I said, what, honey? What is it? Mom, one of my friends was crying. One of my little friends was crying so hard. He wanted his mom. He wanted to go home. And I felt that I had to stand up and go to him and console him and tell him everything is going to be all right. But my teacher said I could not leave my chair. I could not leave my desk because I had to finish coloring in the paper. But Mom, he was so sad. And I wanted to go and speak to him. But they said no. They said I could not go help him. And my heart exploded.
Yeah, I can understand.
And I said, I think that if you are in the system, you have to respect the system. You can't be in the system of school. You can't delegate the education of your child and then criticize, because that would confuse the child. So at that point, I just decided to interrupt the frequency in that particular school, in general, we decided to homeschool because I couldn't think about.
I love these statements. You decided to not delegate or just to take back the schooling or the education.
We decided to not delegate. We decided to take responsibility of our child because his feelings, his emotions are so important to us. The fact that he wanted to help others, and this was impossible to him. What is it going to teach him in the future? We also complain about the new generations and how they're aggressive and they're unruly and acts of vandalism. But if we're not teaching them, if we're not helping them to grow in them the inspiration to help, to support, how are we going to expect them to show up as adults and have these characteristics? So at that point, my husband and I said, this is enough. We're starting our homeschooling journey. And now, 5 kids after, basically more than 10 years after that episode, because he's 17 now, we are happily homeschooling, and we would never go back. Never.
And what is your definition, or what was the journey with homeschooling for you?
For me as a parent?
You join other alternative school or community of homeschoolers.
Okay, we created a network because, as I was saying,
in Italy.
Yes, in Italy, because at that stage there were very few homeschoolers and they were all disconnected and they were all doing different things. So I set up a blog. And as I said, what was it, 2011? Everybody was writing blogs at that time. Do you remember? It was the boom of the blog. So I started a blog, but just for fun, because we wanted to tell people what our experience was. It was so enriching for me. I wanted to share. And some people started reading, then a few more, and it just added up. And I had this really good reach, and people were interested in our little adventures, in the freedom of education, in the legal aspects. And so one thing after the next, we decided to open Développons. And Développons is a network. People had to come together. People had to be able to share, to connect at a personal level, create events, because that's what it is about homeschooling, getting together and sharing experiences and welcoming the new homeschoolers and giving them support. So we created, my husband and I, this network that, by the way, we just renewed. And there's a new version of it that came out 10 days ago, and it's lovely and super easy and super user-friendly. So we've been working on it throughout the years. And
so after 10 years of experience of Développons, now there's EduLearn, or there's also different kind of alternative and support for the homeschoolers.
Yes, because what I've noticed in this journey, I feel it's a mission. A lot of people speak about goals. They say, I have this goal, I have that goal. I prefer talking about mission, because when there's a goal, you can actually justify not reaching your goal or failure. So many things can come in the way. Like, for example, if I say, I don't know, I want to become a doctor, and then I don't become a doctor. My goal was to be a doctor. Oh, but then, the school was too hard, or I didn't have the money, or this and this happened in my life. Instead, if you say, I want to help people, I want to help people become healthy, I want to help people heal, well, then you can be a doctor. You understand. It's different when you say, I have a mission, then I have a goal. And what I've noticed in my journey is that I get requests on what comes next. Like, I wrote a book, but I wrote a book because people were asking me to write a book. And I wrote also an illustrated book for children. Why? Because they were telling me...
A book about home education or alternative education?
Yeah, I wrote a book on unschooling, and it's an illustrated book of this little girl called Susanna, who goes through her day and learns so many things without going to school. And I wrote that book specifically because people were telling me, we homeschool, but we're isolated. And my daughter and my son, they don't have an example. All the friends around go to school, so they don't have someone to look up to. So I wrote the book. And this little girl, she has so much fun, and she's so, enthusiastic of life. And people and families thanked me because the children every evening wanted to read the book because they saw themselves in the character.
In the character.
They could relate, and that was so fulfilling for me.
What is your mission?
My mission is to support families and the freedom of education, because I think it's a human right that we have to defend. Now more than ever. And as you were asking me about EduLearn, during the COVID times, hopefully are gone and well past behind us, we had requests by the new homeschoolers to have some direction regarding what to study, how to study, and the curriculum to follow. Because they were very new, there were many people.
In Italy?
Yes,
also.
Yes, absolutely. And so they were asking for more information regarding the academics.
Yeah. What is the population of homeschooling or alternative education in
there are about 10,000 families.
10,000, wow.
Yes, homeschooling at the moment. This is going to be a critical year because we're going to understand who's going to remain into home education and who's going to go back to the school system.
Yeah, after the COVID
yes,
time.
I think we've been seeing numbers shift, even though it's very hard to collect numbers in Italy.
The COVID also opened eyes.
Absolutely,
for
yes.
People.
Yes, I've been, as a consultant, I have been speaking to families and parents who kind of embarrassedly said to me, the COVID lockdown was the best time of my life because I could stop and I could be with my children and I could actually see what they were doing in school. And it's the first time I opened their books and I opened their notebooks. And I was not satisfied with what I was seeing. I realized that we could do so much more. And I realized that being with them was so enriching and fulfilling for me. And so we want more of it. And they were embarrassed because everybody was talking about death and disaster. And they were like, oh my goodness, this is so good.
Yeah.
So
it was a time to come closer to their children and to what were their own mission.
Yeah. You know what I think secretly? I think secretly that this whole situation came upon us because inside them, a lot of people had this need to slow down. They had this need to spend time with their family. And it was a secret need, deep buried, but they repeated it probably in their heads, too much chaos, too fast. And then this slammed into their lives, obviously not in a positive way, but still life teaches us in hardship, right? So it happened. And in the negative, this was the positive outcome.
And now we are in a summit in Paris about defending this alternative and freedom of choice of education and home education. What do you wish for us in this coming year, and how you will continue your mission with freedom of education? I believe we are planting a seed that will bear fruit in the future. If there is a connection amongst different countries, we can learn from the hardship that countries like Portugal or France, it's very emblematic that we're here in Paris, have been going through in the recent years. We can learn from them how to behave when there's the risk of losing the freedom of education. We can also give them hope in exchange of this. So the community is the strength of homeschooling. And also bringing this knowledge and information to the media and to more people also for knowing that it is a right, and you can choose also to choose the education you want to give to your children. Yes, all being public like this and coming together. And I like what you did also, like this EduPars and also going for the media or writing books. I think it's really important in this mission. I've been invited also on TV shows and been interviewed for the papers, but I'm always dreadful about those situations because they could flip the information very easily, but I put myself through it because I think people need examples and inspirations to look up to. It's a risk, of course. In fact, when you're a leader, it's risky to expose yourself and expose your family. But as I said, it's a mission. And even if there's just one single family that understands, that learns that they can do something and that they can take their child, for example, out of a traumatic school experience, well, I'm happy. I've done my job. That's my day. Thank you, dear Erika, to be committed to this mission and this day-by-day adventure. Thank you. And you too? Yeah, let's do it. You're making this public. We need people like you with the equipment and everything. Everybody has a different talent and a different skill. We're in a system that tells us
oh, you're not good at that? You have to work hard on what you are not good at. I believe we have to work hard at what we are good at, what we shine, what makes us shine, because that's all the talents coming together and making it a different society, a society where we all feel fulfilled.
Yeah, it's what I wish deeply for us, and what we also, doing it every day, going to this way.